This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, that's exciting. All
You're a
right, so
show-off,
it
Jeremy.
is.
You're just such a show-off.
It is 5:35. We're going to start our finance meeting. Here today we have Jeremy Graham and Trustee Julia O'Rourke, as well as our Treasurer Sally Bennett and Nick Half as well. I gotta find that agenda. Where did I put it? Here we go. All right. So the first thing on our agenda is the approval of the August and September minutes. Did anybody have any issues with those?
Nope, I move approve.
All right. Is that's a verbal vote for approval?
Someone
right.
has to second it, but I don't think it has to be a roll call. Does it?
Okay, well, I can never remember on these rules.
Yeah,
So
I
will
think
second
Jeremy's has to second, yeah.
Yeah, I will second the approval of the minutes. And then, you know what, just for the heck of it, let's do a roll call. Julie?
Yep.
And Jeremy is also a yes. All right, moving on. Any conflicts of interest?
Nope.
Yep, perfect. Moving on to the public comment. Unless Nick has any public comment, I don't see anyone else in.
I do not.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on right along to number 4, the As of Our Government Solutions update.
There's nothing new from last month.
Okay. And as of last month, if I remember right, As of Our put a thing in the paper against ComEd, and that's the last we heard?
Yes.
All right.
I believe it was the Tribune, not the Times.
Yes, because the Chicago Times doesn't exist. Yes, I remember. All right. So moving on to the budget 2020. The first one on the docket here is the front office repairs.
That was just on there from before. We approved those to be paid last month, at least the ones that we've been invoiced for. There are some, there still may be more coming from insurance, and that is unclear at this time. I know that Chadensco is working with the insurance, and the adjuster left, and now they have a new adjuster. I think, Jeremy, you were in that meeting when he was talking about it for Public Works. So it's still up in the air if there is more happening there. And then you had asked me to put the website design on there for the CARES Act.
Yes. So Julie, did you get that email as well regarding possible update of our website and using CARES Act funding?
If I did, I don't recall it. I don't think I did.
Okay, I don't have any idea where that one was.
I did. It
basically,
was from Frank. Yeah.
Was I in it too?
I don't know.
I can't.
Here we go.
How could that be a CARES expense?
Because if people have to use the website instead of coming into the office, and we need to pay someone to program our website, those expenses would be CURE approved. So we've actually been in talks with our web designer, Eli Nicolosi. I don't know it. I didn't know if Jeremy had other reasons for wanting it on here, but I just thought I would reiterate what I knew about it.
So Julie, I did just email it to you. I forwarded it to you, so you'll have all the information. And basically, as Sally was saying there, because, we talked about doing this anyway, but for permitting and things like that, trying to take that middleman out, to have it all automated on the computer, on a website itself. And there is an article here basically saying that websites upgrades may qualify for CARES Act reimbursement, so on and so forth. So my real question is, did you have any issues with trying to move forward with that and putting it down as a reimbursable expense?
No, I know that Eli is working with Kelly right now, but we haven't received a finished product yet, so we can't submit anything until we've paid the person or the entity, and then we would get we would ask for reimbursement.
Well, that makes sense. All right, so really it's just putting it on the radar that at sometime in the near future we'll get a bill saying, hey, this is what we can do and this is how much it's going to cost, and then we can make that decision at that point.
There was also an email that was originally from Brad Cole. I'm sure you guys have gotten it too, but Kelly and I weren't sure because it said that police payroll between March and October would be eligible. And just in the way that it was worded, it sounded like all police payroll. So we have to look into that, but if that's true, we could definitely use the entire grant.
Do you remember what the rationale for that was, Sally? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it was for the public unrest.
Let me pop over and look on my email because I know it's still in my inbox.
Well, if it was for the public unrest, we only had that one day where I think Jeff said he had people there, and I don't know, more than we needed for what it ended up being, which we couldn't possibly know. So I don't know if there would be anything beyond that. I don't know.
It says, oh shoot. It says, as a reminder, the Illinois Department of Commerce, not Converse, and Economic Opportunity released guidance allowing eligible municipalities under the state's local CURE program to be reimbursed for all payroll expenses for public safety and public health employees in line with the federal guidelines. This expansion in both the federal and state guidelines is a result of the IML state and federal advocacy to expand eligible uses for local CURE funding. So I have not had any opportunity to dig deeper, but it really sounds like that in this email. I will forward this to you too.
That could be they could have changed the guidance just as a way to give municipalities more help, it sounds like, which would be great.
Oh, absolutely.
In talking with Jeff White just a minute ago, he said that was exactly IML had fought to get that in there. So that's probably exactly the way that they were going with it.
That would be great.
That would be a big relief. So that is in the works for research. You know, everything's always better after the board meeting for Kelly and I to look into things like that. So
sounds great.
You know, there's that federal link within that email, Sally, and it looks like it's much more specific than an open item.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. It said LFUs to cover costs.
It seems too good to be true to me too, so that's why I didn't really want to count on it, but I'm really hoping that it's pretty open-ended.
Yeah, it depends on, they've got 3 items there. CARES Act will provide payments from the fund used to cover costs that are necessary expenditures incurred due to public health emergency with respect to COVID, were not accounted for in the budget, which ours would have been, and then were incurred during the period that begins March 1st through December 30th. So if you use number 3 in isolation, you could interpret it as that. But if it is a condition of the others as well, then you couldn't. So it depends on how to interpret this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the hail damage and such isn't necessarily under the CARES Act. It's something that we didn't plan for, but.
Right.
All right, we'll have to look more into that one. All right, the next one is a supplemental appropriation.
Mary sent out the final one. I had an error in my Excel spreadsheet that she caught, so that was good. And actually, the error was from the original appropriation, so I didn't catch it because I wasn't trying to look at that, But I stand by those numbers at this point.
Yeah, and I kind of went through the math, not necessarily, Sally, I wouldn't have had the detail of the numbers that you did, but I just kind of made sure that they looked in line with what we had been talking about through other minutes and stuff. So yeah, I mean, could there be a minor thing off? Yeah, but I think ballpark, we're right where we've been talking all along.
Yeah. Good. For the hail damage, my method was that because I have no idea moving forward, I talked to Chad at the Public Works meeting about this. We're sort of at a standstill with some of the properties that have arguable damage. Chad's still in the works with all of that. So my method was to take the 56,000 that we've already received and use the 125% in the appropriation, but then in our regular budget, it would just be the 56,000. And most of those things that are in question are roofs, and the year is ending, and I don't know that any of it will be done timely anyway. So then we'd be looking at next year. Anything beyond the 56,000, I guess is what I'm saying. But we still have that 25% cushion.
So 56 is what we've collected already from insurance, is what you said, Sally?
Yes.
But we potentially have more claims that could get paid out.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what happens if it does get paid out? I mean, what happens if it does get paid out?
If they pay us more, we could just hold it until next year in our reserves. Also, an alternative is we could ask them to pay the vendor directly and not cut us a check.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I did verify.
All right, so we have options. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the amount in the budget was 70,000 for that, or in the appropriation, I mean. So to me, that seems, like plenty for us. If it all comes through or whatever, it should be fine.
Okay, sounds good.
I do see we have a new caller number 2. Hello there.
Hi, this is Lori. Sorry, my appointment ran a little long today.
Not a problem. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Living the dream. All right, so that is 5:50, and Lori Morgan has joined us. Let's catch you up, Lori. We approved the minutes for August and September. no conflicts of interest, no public comment, nothing new from Azabar. Front office repairs, we're still moving forward on that. We approved those to be paid last month. The Cures Act for the website design, there is information out there that if we need to upgrade our website due to COVID to try to eliminate the more in person, for example, permit fees, paying bills, things like that, you can use the money for it. So we are looking into that, but we have not received a bill yet on how much that would cost. And the last one was a supplemental appropriation, and it's looking really good, and that will be approved tonight. Any questions on any of that, Lori?
Nope.
All right. Awesome. Moving on to the next one, which is the meeting for the department leaders. I had thrown this one there. I'd asked Sally to put this one in there. As the entire year has gone on so far, we've asked all the departments to, spend the absolute minimum as possible, because we don't know what's going to happen as the year progressed. And they've done a phenomenal job. And now we are coming to the end of the year, and I'd have to look specifically at numbers, but I feel that we are going to have a lot more left over than we anticipated, because all these things that were supposed to get paid, we didn't end up using because everyone's been holding back and doing the absolute minimum. So I would like to schedule a meeting with department leaders, department heads, okay, now that it's the end of the year, we do have some money left over. It wasn't as horrible as we thought it was going to be. What else do you need this year? What else can we spend this year so it doesn't affect next year's budget? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I would just say you want to look at both the revenue side and the expense side. I mean, obviously, if we're at 80% of expense, but we're at 80% of, we're at lesser revenue, and I know our revenue was looking okay, and Cures Act throws a whole nother question mark on what we get reimbursed on, but I know sometimes we get caught in the habit of just looking at the expense side and say, oh, we have money left. Well, not if it's not coming in the other end. So just make sure we're looking at both sides of it is all I would say.
Mm-hmm. And on the cash flow report this month, I think it's because we're flush with cash from property taxes, but it shows our fund balance is at 50%, which is pretty good.
Yeah, good. That is good. We got some big bills coming up, as we all know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So for this meeting, would you guys rather that I meet with the department heads, or that we invite them to our next finance meeting? And just give them a heads up. Hey, this is what we're looking at, because they all can see the budget. This is what we're looking at. What are some things that you feel that we still need? What are your thoughts?
I guess, to sit there and say, here, have an open checkbook never feels comfortable to me. And that's kind of what I feel like that meeting's going to be. I mean, we're not out of the woods yet on this.
Yeah, and I guess, do we know what things they held back on? I guess that would be my question. I would rather us have a plan that says, okay, we know you budgeted for X, Y, and Z. We feel, that maybe we can do X and Y now. If you had a choice, would you rather do X and Y, or would you rather do? I would rather give them options. I don't know if we have enough of that information to know what items they held back on, but I would rather approach it that way than just say, hey, what else do you want? Because I think some of them will just, like Julie said, take that to be kind of an open checkbook, and who knows what you're going to hear.
Well, and Jeremy, I think another big thing we need to keep in mind is we have got to get this salary project done, and I don't feel like there's any momentum going. I know Nick, thank you, Nick, for sending some investigative work on for salaries and so forth, but having a little bit of a buffer this year with having, our restaurants being closed again, although I don't know if ours are closing or not. There's such a whatever we want to call it, but so the revenues can slow down again. I don't know if I like the idea of going and I mean, from Public Works what they need. I know there was something in the minutes about a dump truck, and I don't know if that's one of the things they'd really like to do this year or not, but I'd like to have some money to do a salary review, and if we need to budget bigger on salaries next year, because any extra is going to be going into reserves. We've got the big payments coming to our WRD that, so I mean, we're not out of the woods on this stupid COVID yet either. So I'm just waving my flag of caution here.
Okay. Those are all great points. Okay, so I will send an email then to the 3 department heads and see, if funding was available, what do you still need for the year? And then we can go through and figure out how much we have and go from there. How's that sound then?
Just be careful of the expectations you're setting. I mean, can you go to the committee chairs and talk to them first?
Sure.
I don't know. I mean,
No,
they should have their arms around things like that, I would think.
Well, I mean, are we talking? Yeah, I can go to the committee chair. Now, there's no one in charge of the office, though, the JAG fund, per se. So anything that Kelly would feel, maybe they're holding back on getting that new copy, or Sally can give us insight on that. But
Yeah.
I do know that the front office needs to be put back together in some way, and not just the financial aspect of buying a desk or a table or whatever, but just to know how it's going to flow. So if I were to guess what Kelly would be after, I would say that's probably at the top of the list.
And I think one thing we kind of promised was if we're in a better position than we thought by the end of the year, they've been talking about this generator now in several meetings. I can't remember the price on that thing. Was that 10 grand or something like that? I can't remember, but that one's already kind of floating out there.
correct. And if it doesn't get done this year, we can always, we can try to budget for it next year. But yeah, that is definitely something else as well. Okay, so I will look more into that then. I see where your point is about the open checkbook. So I will look more into it and see if I can easily see what based off of their budget, what they wanted to have. But I'll work with Sally and we'll figure that one out. Which does move us into the 2021 budget planning. If I remember right, it's been a couple of years since I've done it now. I want to say we started to have our multiple meetings a month in November. And then we had the whole thing decided by December, and it was either approved at the December board or it was approved at the January board. Is that right?
Yeah, usually in January or February. We have until the end of the first quarter to get our appropriation passed, but we do try to get the budget done within the first month or so. A lot of times we hold off because we're still paying expenses from the previous fiscal year in January and February. But it's, hopefully we can get it done timely. What deadline would you like me to give the department heads for having their expenses to me for the first draft?
When did we do that last year? Do you remember, Sally? Is it late November?
It's probably sometime close to now. I don't remember when we did it last year. See, when I do the go-to meeting, I get out of my VPN and I'm doing it just on the computer, but then I have to go into my VPN session to look at anything. I'll see if I can.
If I remember right, from 2 years ago, I thought we met like twice in November and like 2 or 3 times in December, and the whole thing was done before the end of the year.
Okay.
No, it's been, like I said, it's been a couple of years since I've done it last.
Yeah,
Um,
I can tell you it was not done by the end of the year last year. I don't think it was done till February last year.
That sounds right. Well, there were a lot of things. One of them was the handbook. There were factors involved with why we didn't get it done. I don't remember exactly, but we had a lot going on in December and January.
Well, and I think Paul Elson was putting that big spreadsheet together so we could all understand the big RRWRD payments that are going to be coming due.
Mhm.
And we were trying to incorporate all that. Just
Yeah.
looking through my file, trying to find dates on things, but I'm not having much luck.
I looked at that spreadsheet, but I'm not exactly sure. What I wanted to do was validate his past numbers because I don't know where they came from. So when he says something, when he has a row that says O&M operations, how do I know what's in there? So I spent some time on it for a while, and then I had to let it go and work on something else. But I would definitely continue that spreadsheet or a different spreadsheet if we discuss those parameters of, what some defined rows, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I did find a couple things like Chad's budget numbers that he provides to us to help us figure out his side of the ledger here. This was dated 10/27. So at 10/27 we already had his numbers, and at 10/23 it looks like we already had one iteration of the budget. So yeah, maybe we need to get to the department head sooner rather than later for next year's numbers.
Is 2 weeks, if we asked for it by the 30th, is that too soon? It would be 1, 2, 3 weeks. Okay. So
They've
I'm
had
looking
that
at,
paperwork for over a month. I believe I printed that a month ago.
so if we had it due by October 30th, and that would give, assuming that we have the meeting in on November 9th, which is the board meeting, our first one, would give you a week to be able to put all that together. Obviously a very rough draft, but is that enough time for you, Sally?
Yes.
Okay. We do it by the 30th, then we, it's telling me slow internet connection. We'll see what happens. Then we'll meet on the 9th.
Yeah. Maybe due on the 28th, which is a Wednesday, which maybe then I can get it done at the end of the month, by the end of the month.
Okay.
I
First
will
deadline
be out of town that second week of November. Not that you can't meet without me, but I just want to let you know I'll be out of town that week of November.
Okay. I appreciate that. And if we can just at least get and look at this. I'm thinking, yeah, we'll shoot for that one first, the 28th, for the department heads to have it due. It'll give us time to put it together and take a look at it on the 9th. And then what are your thoughts on the 23rd to have another meeting just to discuss budgets as a whole? Like nothing but budget on the 23rd.
Hang on, let me look at my schedule.
That should be all right with me.
That's the Monday before Thanksgiving. That seems fine to me. Usually I have that week off, but due to COVID, I'm not hosting Thanksgiving this year, the first time in 30 years. So I'm a little bummed.
Our family had that conversation today too for Christmas.
I've
Yeah,
been
we're not
doing
getting
it
together
since I was
either.
a teenager.
The 23rd should work for me. I will have another appointment, but it's a little earlier that day, so I should be done by 5:30 for sure.
The other thing I guess I should bring up in that regard, I'm required to have a full week off. And I don't know that I can do that before the end of the year because of staffing issues.
So
Oh,
I
boy. So
apologize,
if
but I couldn't
you
do
have to
anything for
have
the
it, then
last,
what
like,
does
3
that mean?
minutes.
Well, it's a policy that we have for anyone handling money to have a full week off. However, I don't think I've had a full week this whole year. I have been away from the office, but I don't know if we can make an exception this year.
Can you hear me?
Well, we can, yeah, Jeremy, Sally was talking about the fact that our policy says anyone that deals with money has to take a consecutive 5 days off, and she's not going to be able to do that due to staffing issues. Maybe we need to bring that up at the board meeting today just to let the board know. See if we can make it an exception this year.
I think that's a good idea.
Now,
I don't know if Kelly will have either. Oh, wait. She did have a week off.
Yeah, early on, right?
I will ask her to verify that. Not exactly sure.
I think she did have one early in her tenure, remember? I mean, I think she took the job asking to have a week off that she had already planned for a vacation.
Okay. But I think that was supposed to be this month. And I'm pretty sure she didn't take a week off.
Oh, I thought it was early. I thought she like started and then left for a week and then came back. Maybe I'm mistaken.
That was Carrie.
Oh, okay.
Carrie did that. I will double
Okay,
check.
so we can bring it up, but I don't know if that's an actual just village policy or an state law, because a friend of mine works for the bank. Well, both of you would know. Don't you both have to take off a whole week straight?
It's not a state law.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a law. It's just a bank's internal policies.
Oh, okay.
That's the best practice.
Yeah, it's like an internal control. We did it, and I remember Diane Frew really had a hard time with that because she was such a dedicated person. We had to force her to take a week.
Sally, have you taken vacation time?
I have. I've taken a day here and a day there, just not the consecutive 5 days. It's usually Thanksgiving week that I do that.
All right, but are you taking, I mean, you're going to have more than you can roll over?
No, I can roll over. Don't we have unlimited rollover up to the cap?
I can't remember. I thought there was a limit on how much you could roll over, but I'd have to pull out those policies again.
I can never remember because we changed so many times, but the way that I remember it last is that we can roll over whatever up until we hit that cap, which I can't remember what it is.
Okay.
I don't think I'm in the danger zone. I would love to take the time off, but I just don't see it happening. I'll probably get a day here or a day there around Christmas and New Year's or something, and
No, like I said, I missed the first part of the conversation because my computer's having issues. But this is all based off of the 23rd when we were talking about meeting again, correct?
yeah, that sprang a memory about Thanksgiving week.
Okay, so can we just move it to the 30th then? Will that solve most problems?
There is no problem with the 23rd.
Okay.
And all that did was remind me that I usually take that week off, but I can't take that week off. So
Okay, sounds good. Well, we'll shoot for that, then we'll see how it goes. And if you decide you want to take off that week, if it ends up working out, then we'll move it to the 30th. We'll talk as we get closer.
okay.
But the meeting specifically will dedicate just for budgeting itself. We'll knock out everything else at the finance meeting on the 9th, if that's what we decide to go with. And then we'll talk just straight budgeting on the 23rd. And then move from there. I think we can get a couple of good meetings in and hopefully most everything taken care of before the Christmas holiday season.
So I have a question about that. Would you, I mean, I typically come up with some educated guess revenues, and I usually put in last year's payroll just so that we have that baseline. Is that how you would like to see it on the 23rd, or do you just want me to come with the expenses and not talk about revenues?
Well, of course, we can't really do just one side without the other. Otherwise, it's just a big wish list. Is that
Exactly.
enough time to be able to come up with something?
Well, I will definitely try. I think I can just work on that as soon as possible. It'll just be at the top of the list.
Okay, that would be greatly appreciated. I was in contact with Sally Joe as well, and I don't know what happened to this email. But she did ask for budget purposes if I wanted her to figure out what pay raises would be, like 1%, 2%, 3% for everybody. And I did say yes, so she's going to get that to us soon. I really don't know what happened to that email. My inbox just ate it. But point being is she's going to put that together for us as well, so we can incorporate that into the budget to see how we want to do that from there.
And then it's nice because I remember doing this in the past where we would just notice, you'd be able to tell at a glance that, okay, for $5,000, everybody can have 1% or whatever the number is, I don't know, but it's kind of nice to be able to think of it in those terms. I know that there is a question as to how much the health insurance will be going up, and as of today, we haven't gotten those numbers. So it's like death and taxes. The health insurance always goes up.
Of course it does.
You know,
Yeah.
Sally, talking about health insurance, you know, I know the spending policy was in the thing, and I'm jumping ahead maybe, but it's tied back to your comment here. It sounds like any of these big expenditures, if I remember what I read in that policy, they should be going out for RFP. So to me, the garbage disposal, all of that should be going out for RFP, and so should insurance. I mean, obviously we don't want to do it every year, but you know, these are expensive line items that keep going higher, and why aren't we doing RFPs? I just don't understand that, especially when I read that spending policy or whatever that policy was you sent, unless I misinterpreted that policy.
Well, the garbage, we have a contract, and that is, I believe that was 7 years.
Well, no, it's coming due, and that's why aren't we doing RFP with it coming due? I think it said any expenditure over 10,000 goes through an RFP process, and both insurance and garbage has got to be over $10,000.
I thought Frank was negotiating the contract. I've been asking if there's, something I can do, and, so I don't know.
Okay, I am going to bring this up in the board meeting. I just don't understand it. I mean, if we have a policy in house that says if an expense over $10,000 arises, RFP means we need to be going out for multiple bids. I mean, negotiating with Gil is one thing, but we're not looking at anyone else.
I agree.
So, and I know,
on
yeah,
the board meeting tonight. Yeah.
I do believe Frank is going to talk about Gills in his minutes tonight, or in his section.
yeah.
So are you just talking about purchases for items greater than $10,000?
Well, from the policy that you sent, yeah.
I mean, that's typically just like construction, I guess. But I mean, my time at the village, the garbage was always a lengthy contract that was negotiated. I don't know what other garbage companies are out there. I don't know who should do that research or who should write the RFP, or what. So I think you should talk about it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying just because it's an RFP. It's not an annual RFP. You can do an RFP for a 5 or a 7 year contract. That's not an issue. But in that process, then you're talking to I think I've heard at least 2 or 3 garbage disposal companies that we could be discussing this with. So it would be asking each of them to bid on a 5, 7, or 10 year contract, whatever we wanted to do. That's all. We can bring it up at the board meeting. We got plenty to talk about here. Yeah. When I saw your policy, I thought, well, what the heck? Why aren't we doing this then?
And I don't know if you were here then, but when we did go with Coyle Kiley, we did send an RFP out, and they were the only ones that responded.
Yep.
And I remember Mike wanted time to dwell and think about it, and the board was trying to tell him, think about what? They're the only company that responded.
Yeah.
So before that, we had an insurance broker, and we really liked them. They did a lot, but they were bought out twice and then moved out of the area. And at that time, I think it was Trustee Keeper that didn't want to continue with them when they were located out of the area. So that's kind of a little history lesson, but I don't know who we would send RFPs to for that either. Maybe a certain teacher could get some information about what the school does.
I might know somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
All right.
Letterman.
Let's try to knock some of this more stuff out here. We got about just a couple more minutes until we got to get off of here because we've got our next meeting. Eye drop and water bill delinquency. I don't remember. Did you push out the eye drop?
Kelly didn't get it done this time.
Okay. That's fine. And it's going to be different anyway. So just to clarify the late fees, it's for the October's usage from October 1st to October 31st, which is due November 15th. And if they don't pay it on November 15th, the actual late fee will be on the December 15th bill. Because we don't know if they would pay it or not on the November 15th.
Exactly. That's when they start calculating.
Sounds good. No action taken. Bank reconciliation for July.
Not done. We left both those items on there. Kelly and I were like, maybe we'll get to them. We both failed.
Any big any big issues why we can't get that one, or just haven't got time to it yet?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
Is there an issue that we can't get that done, as in there's something that just continues not to add up yet, or have we just not had time to get to it?
I started it, and I just haven't had a chance to get back and work on it. I've had a lot on my plate,
Okay.
so.
That's not a problem. Let's see. The next one here is credit card reviews for July and August. I have September's in front of me, and July and August is probably in here, maybe.
I printed out July twice.
All right, so August is definitely in board, and July's is in the board packet as well. So inside the actual board packet is July and August, and then September was emailed separately. I don't think we can actually.
September isn't done. I don't even have that bill yet.
Oh no, it just is labeled September. Yep, it's just labeled September on here. It is July's bill.
Okay.
I didn't see any big issues on this. Let me take a look at it one more time though, since it's here. I don't have any questions on that. Julie or Laura, do you guys have a...
Nope, I looked at them both.
All right. No issues. Moving on to number 10 for office staffing.
I just put that on there because of the turnover with Carrie, and I posted the information that I received from the 2 temp agencies that I contacted. That was the task from the meeting that I walked away with. But I just didn't know if you wanted to talk about it.
Okay. So it's on the agenda. I believe Frank's going to talk about it today. The question was
Jeremy, you're
one
breaking up.
or 2, and then there was a breakdown of all of them. Of course I am. Turn off my camera, see if that helps. Can you hear me any better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was the option of the 2 part-timers or the 1 full-timer with benefits, and there was the breakdown of different finances. And then we all sent in what we thought the best option was. I know Frank's going to talk about it this evening. The only thing I really wanted to hit on is, while the temp agency is great because we'll be able to fill it, I don't know, it seems awfully high, the amount that we have to pay these new employees, especially in comparison to the employees that we already have and how much they would be making compared to them.
Can you say that last part again? I'm sorry.
That's all right. Really, it was the high cost of these employees based off of that email from the temp agency. And that was just kind of concerning for how much we would have to pay them, especially in comparison to how much we're paying our current employees now.
Mm-hmm.
So no real action from my end here of things that need to be done the second. I just wanted to bring that point up. I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at that, but again, I don't know how my email keeps disappearing. Oh, here it is.
My response to that would be that it's a temporary solution and that those employees will not receive the benefits that our current employees are receiving. So I guess it's kind of a trade-off.
How much are we paying them? I can't recall the detail.
It says 20. $22.80 for the first 500 hours.
Oh, wait, then I'm confused. So Sally, so we would pay them that, I get it, without benefits, but then if they want to come on board, we give them a $6 pay cut?
They don't actually receive that money. The temp agency receives that money. The temp
Okay,
agency
so-
pays them $15 per hour in that example.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought they just took a cut of it. Okay.
And they don't even know like what the deal is. They just get their pay from the agency.
So in your example that you sent us, you told them we were interested in paying $15 an hour, and they came back and said, okay, then you're going to pay us $22.80 or whatever the number was, and they're going to pay the employee $15, and they're going to keep the difference per hour, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, there's no way we're going to be able to hire on our own, I don't think. So I think we're just going to have to pay it. And you're right. Yeah, even though it's more short term, we're not paying the benefits costs until we hire full. Well, even then we don't. I mean, there's some benefits, IMRF, but there's not insurance and so forth.
Right. And that's the way the village hired me. It's something that they did in the past, and I think it's just a matter of taste as to who disagrees with doing that. But yeah, I was a temp for 500 hours and then hired in. So we've done it before.
Yeah.
And we were successful. So, all right. So like I said, there's nothing that needs to be decided as far as I know from this. It's just going to be discussed this evening and just to put everyone on the same page. Other thoughts were going to be, if there are two, do we train them both? And again, this doesn't need to be answered now. Do we train them both exactly the same so they can be redundant, or do we do one strict mainly for water and one mainly for police? Those are just other items to think about for the discussion this evening. And that also doesn't have to be decided this evening, but all right, moving on here. Video game update.
Frank had noticed that Kelly Williamson wasn't on our list of receipts for video gaming. And upon further research, I found that that money from Kelly Williamson has been going to Winnebago County. So,
Oh,
of course it is.
Oh my gosh, how did that happen?
well, when they were in the process of filling out their application to the Illinois Gaming Board, something came up and I got involved in it because it was right after Joy left. That property was annexed in the 1990s. So some of the paperwork that they had a different address on it because the old address was Winnebago Road, and then once they were annexed in, it became 903 North Elida. So the gaming board was questioning why there were two addresses, and I had contacted the treasurer's office and things just to make sure that wasn't holding up the show or anything for them to get their license. And it just kind of went away. The gaming board representative that I talked to said that wasn't a problem and it wouldn't hold up anything. And so then today we figure this out, and it makes sense to me that whatever, paperwork they had was going to the county instead of us. So I've been in contact with them, with Lori Forsythe from Kelly Williamson, and with someone named Teresa from the Winnebago County Treasurer's Office. The total amount is $2,219 from February through July, I think it is, August. And I noted on the revenue worksheet, that spreadsheet that has all the collections, I notated it on there. And if you looked at that, that puts us over our budgeted amount once we receive that. So that made me happy that we're actually going to hit the mark.
Woohoo!
That's good.
So I will keep you guys posted on all the drama from collecting our money.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to number 12. Sally, was this on there because I asked, or is this something you put on there anyway?
It's because you asked.
Okay.
And
So
it
we got-
accidentally says line of credit. It should say letter of credit. I think that was
Yes.
my mistake.
So we got that email from the bank for a letter of credit. I just saw it and I didn't know we had a letter of credit before. Is this something that we use? It's more just an informational thing. Is this something we've used in the past? Have they offered it before and we just never use it? Or is it something we use all the time and I just never knew?
This is in place of pledged collateral. And I guess I don't really know all the details of what the difference between the two is. Maybe the bankers in the room could enlighten us, but we used to receive letters that showed that they were pledging collateral from other government agencies with their bonds. And
Yep.
it was explained to me that anything over that we had in an account over 250,000 per account had collateral pledged to it so that we would be protected.
It just gets back to FDIC insurance. So anytime you have a deposit over the 250, what a bank typically will do will be, like she said, pledge collateral, which means a bank has a big bond portfolio. That's called their reserves. They invest in individual bonds, mostly governments, treasuries. And what they'll do is they'll say, okay, these bonds in the portfolio are pledged to the village to make sure they're covered because they're not covered by FDIC insurance, but we don't want our money spread all over the place. So they would do a collateral pledge, and that would be bonds. An alternative is the letter of credit, which I believe is backed by a Federal Home Loan Bank or something, where they can basically draw, and then Federal Home Loan Bank, and Lori can correct me if I'm wrong, she might know more than me, then would be just basically it's a different way to get around FDIC insurance. It's not FDIC insurance, but it's a peace of mind to the village to know that there's something backing up things, that if the bank went under tomorrow, yes, FDIC would cover 250, but these other pieces are in place to cover the rest of our funds. So we wouldn't lose any money.
Well, it's very nice. Okay, that's a good thing. I love it.
I always thought when I saw the pledged collateral, they would actually show us what municipalities' bonds they were pledging. And
Yeah.
I thought I thought that was interesting because pretty much all the government agencies are just protecting each other in a sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
We're having Peter to play Paul.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got two more things on here. The annual cash in lieu of the gas program. I know we were waiting to hear back from NICOR. Have we got anything yet on that?
No, and actually, I was supposed to get a return call from someone named Jeanette, and I was just looking at it before the meeting, and I hadn't gotten that call. So the man Dave that I was working with before, I had asked him for a bill breakdown of what it would look like, and he sent me some link to their website that showed all these different things, and he said each account was different and that I would have to figure it out myself because he didn't have time or whatever. And so I didn't know. I looked at our bills, and I don't know what special things they are. They're municipal, like well houses and things, and so I don't know what distinguishes one from another and why they're different. Nothing on the bill indicates why. So I called, And I told them my issue, and they said that this person would call me back. And the next day, which was, I think, a Saturday, this Dave person emailed me and said that he heard a rumor that I can't remember what, but it was really weird. He just had heard that I called and said that we were going to change. And I said, no, I just want the bill breakdown. I don't know what you're talking about. But someone must have told him that I called and he got defensive. I don't know, but I just want to know what this is going to add up to, and I think it's going to be a wash. I really do, but hopefully I'll call this Jeanette person again tomorrow and just see, what is the deal? Why can't you just tell us what the bill would be? I know they have a system that will do it.
Well, our rep guy or whoever it was is the one who brings it up to us and then kind of leaves us hanging here. Walk us through the details of this quote opportunity that we should be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of irritating.
Yeah, I agree. But
All right, so we'll come back to that one. No biggie. And then the last one we have on here is the policy project purchase orders.
I put that on there because every month it's just very frustrating. We require purchase orders for anything over $500, and pretty much everything that Chad does is over $500, and he does not fill out purchase orders. I end up backfilling those just to keep it going, but I end up filling them out, putting them in his bin for a signature and getting them back and I believe he has a level of frustration with this. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus because we don't have a software system that generates this number. We have a 3-ring binder in the village office that's for all the departments to get these triplicate papers with this purchase order every time they order something over $500. And I personally think it should be a higher amount, not just because it's annoying, but I mean, our department heads have a $1,500 spending limit, so we're trusting them to do that already. And then, it just seems silly that it's so low.
That makes sense.
You might have a different opinion about that, but I had asked Eli when we were talking about this Cures Act thing. I sent him an email asking if he had a way to put some sort of a system together on our website so that when Chad, is ordering, when he's off site ordering pipe or whatever meters, and Jeff in the police department is ordering something, and Kelly, they could just access it on our website instead of having to go find this book. And during COVID times, I don't know if that's really a good thing to be sharing this material. I don't know. I thought maybe that was a good argument for Cure Act, but it's just a point of frustration, and for me, and I think all of the department heads, for all of those reasons. So I don't know if any of you have a better idea of how this could be handled. Even if we had it in Encode, only the 3 people in the village office use Encode. Everyone else is not using it. They don't have a reason to use it. So even if we did that, it wouldn't work.
So are you
Well,
looking for go ahead.
I was just going to say, first, I
I agree with the $500 limit requirement for purchase orders. I mean, it doesn't align with their spending limit, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Particularly, I questioned this last year when I found out that all the department heads had the same spending authority when, you know, for example, Chad, the things he's going to be spending money on, they're going to be more expensive. He's fixing trucks. He's not just buying paper for the office. I mean, I think to me, their spending limits need to reflect what their responsibilities are. So that's one thing that I think should be looked at. The second thing, I agree, we need to come up with some more efficient, streamlined ways and get away from all of the manual, paper. I'm not disputing the fact that additional office help is needed, because I agree that it is. But I think it's kind of a catch-22. I think we need additional office help to have the time to identify and create those efficiencies, and if we had some of those efficiencies, then I don't think we would need quite as many hours of the office staff. So, manual, having a binder, I mean, that's just very outdated. And so, I don't know what the answer is. I think we can, look at some different solutions. If there's a way they can do it on the website, that's great. I don't know what ability everyone has. If everyone has a computer or laptop that they can access a shared drive, you could even do something as simple as having, the list of purchase orders on a shared drive in a spreadsheet, and they can grab one off of there if it's a shared file. I'm sure there's better options than that, but I think we got to get away from the manual processes to help alleviate. I mean, look at, Sally, your time filling those out for Chad, and you could be doing other things, and we need to create those efficiencies to allow you to do your job and the things you need to be doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with everything you said more, Lori. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. I just agreed.
Yeah, and when Frank asked for input on the two part-time employees, that's the number one thing I said, is that, if we can, once we get these two part-time employees in here, if we can get efficiency projects going, and this sounds like it could easily be one of them. I mean, the financial part obviously is, I think, a board decision, and I don't even know if there's any laws or regulatory reason why our limits are what they are. My guess is they've been that way for 100 years, and so they're always going to be that way unless we address them. I mean, with inflation alone, 500 seems like a silly low number, but again, it's taxpayer dollars, and we have to be careful to watch that money, as you all know. So that's something I think we should at least talk about, whether it be tonight or whenever. And then once we get these two part-timers in, to be able to get some projects around there to drive efficiencies in everything we do, I think we have room for improvement. I think there's been a lot of improvement, once we were fully staffed again, but now we're back to not fully staffed again.
Yes.
And I agree with all of that. I got to think, though, that both of those, really the look at the spending limit for everybody, that's going to be an admin team type of issue. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what admin team does, to be honest.
I think finance could determine that. There was a time when it was only 1,000, and Todd and I discovered that at that time gasoline was high, and just his fuel bills were over 1,000 each month, and it became frustrating. And so we had that boosted because he didn't want to have to keep going to his committee chair to approve gasoline expenses. So we did that, and that's when we rewrote this policy, was in 2014. That was
Can you email out that policy?
I did. You should have it from, I think that was last night.
Hey guys, that public hearing is like now.
Yes, it is. Okay. So we'll, yes, I believe it is at 45. So next meeting, November 9th at 5. Does that work for everybody?
It's It's usually 5:30, but I could probably make 5 work.
We can do 5:30, that's fine, here. Look at that, boom, 5:30.
I think Lori has a problem with 5.
Well, yeah, I won't be there on the 9th. I'll be out of town.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we move it up to 5 then, if that works for you, Jeremy?
It
And-
doesn't matter
and
to me
Sally.
either way.
If it works for you and Sally, let's move it up to 5 because it's our first budget pass, so it could be a long one potentially.
Fair
I
enough.
thought the budget meeting was the 23rd.
Correct. The 9th is the, hold on.
But
Yes, the 23rd is the main budget meeting.
I forgot, you had said that we would go through the first draft the 9th.
Yeah, or at least take
Yeah.
a look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
But we can discuss that as we get closer. All
Okay.
right, in that case, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? All right. Roll call, Julie,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes, sorry, I'm trouble with the mute button.
not a problem. And Jeremy says yes as well. All right, guys, it is 6:46 and the meeting is adjourned. I will see you guys in the next meeting in 30
Here.
seconds.
Thanks.
Bye.